Chosen one, this moment is not a coincidence. Your soul was drawn to this video because the heavens whispered the same message to you 7 times. The number 1213 didn't appear before your eyes for nothing, and the prayers of 33 prophets did not fall upon you by chance. You are one of the 144,000 chosen, and your presence here is a divine sign. This message was sent to awaken the secret that has been resting within your heart. What you are about to hear are not just words, but divine vibrations that will sink deep into your soul. If these words are touching you, leave your heart in the comments so the heavens can witness your testimony. Because when you write, another soul will awaken. Now prepare yourself, for this video will illuminate your path. Those who recognize the signs of God know that nothing is random. That's why your being here is already a miracle. I must tell you about the screaming match that just broke out over you, chosen one. I must tell you something. I can assure you that you are going to want to hear every single detail because the information that I am about to give is going to blow your mind for sure. Through the use of psychological research, it has been demonstrated that when an individual reaches their maximum time frame, those who are stuck in lesser vibrations are unable to function normally whatsoever. Someone who believed they had effectively buried your reputation is now discovering that their house of lies has now come crashing down around them. This is happening right now, at this precise moment. This is the twist. The individual in whom they placed the most faith had just betrayed them in the most spectacular way that could possibly occur. They were so adamant in their defense of your dignity that spit was flying, voices were breaking, and the truth came spilling out like a dam had burst. While you have been concentrating on your own personal development, the information that you are about to acquire will demonstrate to you in detail how the universe has been working to ensure that you are vindicated. This is not merely a play, the preferred one. Right now, we are witnessing the manifestation of cosmic justice. Furthermore, you are about to learn the reason why this explosion was unavoidable from the moment you made the decision to tear the cables away. That individual who has been obsessed with your failure believed that they were safe in their own little echo chamber, which consisted of people who enabled them and people who said yes. They were under the impression that they could continue to run about and talk about how you are nothing exceptional, how your success is a hoax, and how you do not deserve the acclaim that has been coming your way. They have constructed a complete narrative in which they are the injured party, and you are the villain who abandoned them when they were in need of assistance. They have been portraying themselves as the victim of your claimed harshness. The fact that you had been discreetly chronicling their actions, not out of malice but out of spiritual insight, was something that they were unaware of for a long time. It was the universe itself that was keeping a record of everything that they did, including every lie they uttered, every attempt at manipulation they made, and every time they attempted to turn other people against you. It was not for the sake of vengeance, but rather for the purpose of revelation that the divine feminine energy that is within you, the intuitive creative force that brings new realities into existence, was gathering evidence. You have to understand that this someone has been living in a fantasy in which they have convinced themselves that they are the one who is nurturing, the one who is stable, and the one who has their life together while you are purportedly beginning to fall apart. They portrayed themselves as the more experienced and knowledgeable individual who had established themselves as secure and wealthy through their own efforts. On the other hand, the reality is that they had been utilizing your ideas, your relationships, and your very essence in order to construct what they believed to be their own success. They had been feeding off of your energy like a parasite. As soon as you were aware of this dynamic and made the decision to remove yourself from the situation, their well-crafted house of cards started to fall apart. They had become so reliant on your source of energy that, in the absence of it, they were unable to keep up the appearance that they had their lives under control. The intensity of their desperation increased at this point. At the point when their assaults grew more damaging. During the time when they began making increasingly ridiculous claims about your character, yet something changed recently that they did not anticipate happening. An act that is comparable to a spiritual amputation was carried out by you. Your power was being drained by the energetic cords that were feeding their fixation, and you successfully cut them. The result was the same regardless of whether you did this consciously through meditation and establishing intentions or intuitively by just deciding that you were finished with their energy. The instant those ties were broken, their entire universe began to disintegrate into pieces. Your critic had been telling others that you were difficult to collaborate with, that you were unable to establish connections, and that your success was predicated on manipulation rather than actual talent. They painted a picture of you as someone who takes advantage of other people and then throws them away when they are no longer useful. On the other hand, here's what makes truth so lovely. When someone is functioning from such a pure frequency that lies just cannot attach to them, it always finds a way to surface. This is especially true when operating from a pure frequency. The authorities that they attempted to involve, the complaints that they made, and the formal reports that they submitted all failed miserably due to the fact that they were all unsuccessful. When the detectives investigated into their allegations, what they discovered was a person whose life displayed a distinct pattern of development, contribution, and positive influence. In the meantime, the behaviors that your accuser took during these interactions shed light on their genuine nature. Their behavior was hostile, they provided narratives that were inconsistent, and it was obvious that they were driven by personal hostility rather than real concerns. There is something particularly heartbreaking about witnessing someone expose their own toxic behavior while simultaneously attempting to demonstrate that another person is toxic. With each and every conversation, formal statement, and attempt to make you look bad, your adversary continued to dig themselves deeper into the ground. They were unable to maintain their composure and were forced to expose their resentment, their fixation, and their total incapacity to move forward in their own lives. This is the point at which everything starts to go completely crazy. It is essential that you comprehend the psychological aspects of what transpired after that. The moment you pulled your energy from their equation, a vacuum was formed, which revealed all that they had been concealing throughout the process. The person who was closest to them, whether it was their present relationship, a member of their family, or someone they believed was entirely under their sway, all of a sudden began to understand the situation with a great deal of clarity. During the course of several months, or possibly even years, this defender had been listening to complaints against you. They had been subjected to a never-ending stream of rants about how you are not deserving of your success, how you are somehow becoming eligible for opportunities that should be reserved for your critic, and how it is unfair that you are succeeding while they are failing. They might have even believed part of it at first, or at the very least, they might have remained neutral in order to maintain the peace. However, as your glow-up became indisputable and as your change became easily discernible to everyone in your immediate vicinity, the defender began to become aware of something that was unsettling. The complaints were not merely fleeting expressions of frustration or sporadic remarks of the situation. They were taking up the entirety of talks, taking over every social occasion, and converting what ought to have been quality time spent together into compulsive analysis sessions about your life. The person who was trying to undermine you would go through your social media sites with the same kind of fervor as a detective investigating a crime, coming up with intricate hypotheses about how you were pretending to be happy or successful in some way. The defender's eyes were opened to a greater extent when they observed the impact that this fixation was having on the children in their immediate vicinity. Several of these outbursts were accompanied by children of varying ages. Minds that are blameless are taking in the poisonous energy. Having the realization that it was common for adults to devote their time to tearing down another person who was not even present to defend themselves was a significant learning experience. At that point, these children started displaying signs of discomfort. When they heard the shouting, they would either flee and hide, or they would ask perplexed inquiries about why their mother or father appeared to be so furious all the time. We are on the way to 1,000 subscribers, and your action makes the difference. Subscribe, like, and comment to amplify the mission of Chosen Archangel. It dawned on the defender that what they were seeing was not a healthy way of processing the hurt that had occurred in the past. It was a darker aspect of the situation. Specifically, this was a person who had grown so consumed with envy that they were willing to pollute their own home environment, traumatize innocent children, and destroy their present relationships in order to achieve the joy of believing that they were somehow winning a competition that existed only in their own minds. A psychological phenomenon known as self-addiction occurs when individuals develop an addiction to their own victim. Storylines due to the fact that it provides people with a feeling of power and character. Your adversary had constructed their entire self-concept on the idea that they were the person who had been harmed by you, the person who truly knew the truth about your character, and the heroic figure who stood against your purported corruption. Due to the absence of this narrative, they would be forced to confront the scary reality that it is possible that you were not the antagonist in their life. Perhaps they were just unable to break free of the habits they had refused to alter. The person they believed to be their loved one was not grieving the loss of a relationship or working through painful feelings. They had been so consumed by jealousy that it was contaminating everything that was in their immediate vicinity. Instead of concentrating on developing their own life, they were spending their mental and emotional energy agonizing over your every move. This was a waste of their capabilities. They were looking through your social media accounts and asking your pals who they shared in common about you. Activities and the development of intricate hypotheses regarding the reasons why your success could not possibly be authentic. When your adversary began to breach lines that could not be reconciled, that was the moment when you reached your breaking point. In an attempt to involve the authorities, they made a number of bogus claims. They started disseminating lies that were so absurd that even their most devoted fans started to question their authenticity. Simply put, they got so filled with hatred that their mask fell off completely, exposing the resentful and vengeful person that they had become. There was no first yelling match that occurred during the confrontation. The conversation started off as a conversation, but as the truth was brought into the picture, it swiftly spun out of control. As the defender had been putting the pieces together and recognizing patterns, they eventually got up the guts to speak up about what they had been observing. This obsession with you was undermining their ability to be present in their own life, and they pointed out the obvious fact that this was happening at the same time. On the other hand, your critic was unable to deal with being called out. They immediately went into full defense mode, doubling down on their victim narrative, and maintaining that you were the problem, that you were the one who caused all of their anguish, and that their fixation with your demise was somehow justifiable. It is also possible that they will attempt to turn the tables on their defender by accusing them of being influenced by you, of not knowing the actual issue, and of betraying them by not instinctively adopting their side. That was the moment when the defender's patience completely broke out. The gloves were removed, and the truth came gushing out like water streaming through a dam that had been breached. They called out the lies, the manipulation, and the way in which your adversary had been twisting reality in order to make themselves appear to be the victim. They revealed how every story that had been told about you had been fabricated. The manner in which every character assassination that occurred was motivated by jealousy rather than a genuine grievance. Due to the fact that the defender had finally reached their limit, words such as liar and delusional continued to fly around. The time had come for them to stop tolerating toxic conduct, to stop pretending that this preoccupation was normal or healthy, and to stop sacrificing their own tranquility for someone who was more engaged in the downfall of another person than in their own development. The argument became more heated as a result of the fact that your opponent was unable to confront the truth about themselves, was unable to accept that their actions had been exposed, and was unable to deal with having their carefully created narrative destroyed. Receipts, screenshots of the obsessive social media stalking, records of the lies that kept changing and contradicting each other, and evidence of how your detractors' mood would swing wildly based entirely on what they perceived to be happening in your life were all things that the defender had been quietly collecting silently for months. They would observe this someone morphing into a whole different human being whenever your name was mentioned. From being someone who was capable of having a regular conversation, they would transform into a resentful, twisted version of themselves where they were consumed with jealousy. In the midst of this violent confrontation, your defender presented a timetable that was so clear that it was heartbreaking. This individual had stopped pursuing their own ambitions, stopped maintaining their connections, and stopped being there for their own family, all because they were too busy inventing complex plots to undermine someone who had gone on entirely. They pointed out that this individual had stopped doing all of these things because they were too busy. The moment that shattered everything was when your defender said something along the lines of, "You're not angry because they hurt you. You're angry because they're happy without you. You can't stand the fact that they built a beautiful life after leaving you behind. And you're willing to destroy your own life just to avoid admitting that maybe they made the right choice by leaving you behind." The defense attorney had conducted their own investigation and found that multiple witnesses who knew both of you had completely different accounts of what actually occurred. These witnesses stated that you had attempted to address issues in the relationship on multiple occasions, have offered solutions and compromises, and had even suggested counseling or mediation as a means of resolving the issues. However, your adversary had rejected every attempt at healthy communication, opting instead to create drama and chaos rather than engage in the inner work that is required for genuine resolution. The moment of ultimate truth arrived when your defender made a statement that cut through all of the noise and revealed the core of what was actually taking place. They made a statement that was similar to the following: you were not a stepping stone in their life. He or she was a part of your life that needed to come to an end so that you could continue writing the rest of your story. This epiphany struck like a bolt of lightning because it reframed everything in terms of spirituality, something even your adversary was unable to refute. You were not the criminal who deserted someone who was in need of assistance. You were a soul that had learned the lessons that a partnership was designed to teach, and you had the insight to move on when staying would have kept both of you stuck in old habits rather than moving forward. During that very instant, your adversary came to the realization that they had been waging a battle that they had already lost. It was not because you were more powerful or superior, rather, it was because you had progressed to the point where your attacks were no longer able to reach you. Each and every one of their schemes, as well as their efforts to tarnish your reputation. The fact that you had sunk to a period in which their opinions simply did not matter longer meant that none of their desperate efforts to argue that you were not deserving of success had been successful. The moment your defender delivered the decisive blow was the moment when the confrontation reached its zenith. During the time that your adversary had been squandering their energy in an attempt to bring you down, they pointed out that you had been working on something that was truly wonderful. While they were mired in the past, you were working to create the future you wanted for yourself. In the meantime, you had been spreading light while they had been spreading poison. The difference was so striking and so indisputable that even the most biased observer was unable to ignore it. However, this was not only about gaining visibility. Protection was the focus of this. There was more to your defense than simply pointing out lies. The fact that they were standing there as a protector of the truth meant that they would not permit your character to be murdered in their presence. The words that needed to be spoken in order to break the spell of manipulation and deception that had been set around the circumstance were being spoken by them as they were working as an instrument of divine justice. As a result of the aftermath of this confrontation, shock waves have been sent across the whole universe of your opponent. There is a high probability that the relationship with their defender is irreparable due to the fact that trust, once completely damaged by the disclosure of such profound dishonesty, is rarely completely rebuilt. Romans 10 verse 17 says, "Faith comes by hearing." Help more people hear. Subscribe, like, and comment to get us to 1,000 subscribers. They are beginning to wonder how much of what they believed about you was based on fiction rather than fact, and other individuals in their circle are beginning to wonder what else they have been lied to about. While this is going on, you have been feeling the opposite consequence yourself. You are experiencing an increase in the frequency and intensity of opportunities that have been presented to you. As a result, new opportunities for careers are expanding. Your genuine abilities are being acknowledged and rewarded by others, and you are experiencing a manifestation of financial plenty. Your energy is being respected, your contributions are being acknowledged, and your presence is being regarded as a gift rather than a danger. You are being invited into circles where these things are happening. It's not a coincidence at all. It is the action of the cosmic law. This occurs when you choose not to reduce your frequency in order to match the toxicity of another person. In the event that you are able to keep your integrity in spite of attempts to lure you into action, your circumstances will be lifted to match your elevated consciousness when you choose to concentrate on your own development rather than defending yourself against lies. This is the response that the universe gives you. It appears that your universe is expanding while the world of your detractor is shrinking. The fact that they prioritized fixation over growth is causing them to lose their credibility, their relationships, and their peace of mind. As a result of your decision to evolve rather than remain stagnant, you are getting recognition, opportunities, and experiences of inner fulfillment. The contrast is so striking that even those individuals who first had doubts about you are beginning to recognize the reality and accept it. The financial parts of your achievement have been particularly upsetting for your detractor because money represents something they've always struggled with. Possession of the capacity to get abundance on the basis of their own merit rather than through manipulation. You have identified sources of revenue that are congruent with your genuine abilities of giving. The kind of work that gives you energy rather than consumes you. Opportunities that appear to multiply naturally thanks to the fact that you are functioning from the principle of actual value creation rather than from the principle of scarcity and competition. Your adversary, on the other hand, has been mired in patterns of financial instability that are a reflection of their emotional instability. The things that they can take, extract, or manipulate from other people have been their primary emphasis, rather than the things that they can contribute to the situation. Because of their mentality, they have been functioning under the assumption that there is not enough for everyone, that the success of another person inherently equals less for them, and that the only way to advance in their career is to bring others down. A distance that is increasing as a result of this fundamental difference in your approaches to abundance has been created, and your adversary is simply unable to cross it through their existing consciousness. On the other hand, they have been locked in cycles of undervaluing themselves and then resenting others for not recognizing their worth, while you have been learning to value yourself appropriately and negotiate from a place of self-worth. It is ironic that their preoccupation with your financial success has actually discouraged them from concentrating on the development of their own financial success. You have been experiencing a rapid acceleration in your spiritual development, which is becoming more and more apparent to everyone around you. People have made comments about how much more serene you appear to be, how your presence is comforting and uplifting, and how you appear to effortlessly attract wonderful events. Developing oneself is not the only aspect of this. You are undergoing a transformation at the soul level, which is altering your entire energetic signature. Give the idea a moment of your attention. For something that is of the utmost significance, I seek your attention. Through this weekly Zoom call, we are going to share everything that we know about personal power, healing yourself, and healing others. There will be no inhibitions or filters. Since we have been practicing spirituality for literally years, we have been silently contributing all of the esoteric secrets that we have accumulated. For anyone who are prepared to follow in our footsteps, the methods and knowledge that allowed us to transition from controlled pornographers to conscious creators are now available to these individuals. This is your invitation to become a member of the Holy Voices and to support our platform. By doing so, we will be able to continue expanding our megaphone and reaching new individuals who have been selected and are currently waiting to be activated. By becoming a member of the Holy Voices, you will not only be able to acquire access to information that is restricted. As you join this movement, you are becoming a part of something that is rewriting reality itself. We have all come out on top in every way. A link can be found in the description. You are being entrusted with information, opportunities, and influence, all of which demand a high level of integrity in order to conduct yourself in an appropriate manner. You are effectively being given the keys to particular doors by the universe because it acknowledges that you have gained the insight and character that is required to use these abilities for the highest good. Because it demonstrates that change is possible, your adversary has been watching this metamorphosis with a mixture of curiosity and fear. This is because they have made the decision not to change. In your spiritual path, each significant milestone serves as a reminder of the stagnation that you have experienced. Every breakthrough you experience brings to light their own self-imposed limitations on their advancement. Every moment of tranquility that you embody stands in stark contrast to the constant chaos that they portray. On the other hand, here's the most stunning section. In order to defend yourself, you did not have to make any effort at all. Instead of wasting energy trying to convince people of your worth, you didn't have to participate in discussions, present evidence of your character, or provide evidence of your character. Through your actions and the outcomes you achieved, your genuine self communicated in such a loud and clear manner that the truth became indisputable to anybody who had open eyes. The legal ramifications that were brought to light for a short period of time have been addressed completely in your favor. It is not because you had superior counsel, rather, it is because truth is revealed when facts are investigated in an objective manner. It is only for the purpose of highlighting your genuine character and exposing the malevolent intent behind the charges that every false claim that is made about you to official entities serves to demonstrate. It has come to light that the individual who was spreading negative information about you is not a victim of your cruelty, rather, they are someone whose character has been revealed via the circumstances of their own actions. It wasn't enough for the defender to simply call out their lies. In the moment when they believed that no one was watching, they displayed a mirror that revealed to everyone exactly who this individual actually is. The person who was critical of you believed that they were the protagonist of a story about how you had harmed them. The belief that they were the hero who was fighting against your success, the underdog who deserved compassion and support, was prevalent among them. On the other hand, the whole cosmos has just disclosed the real story. They played a relatively little role in the transition that you are undergoing. And someone whose presence instilled in you the ability to exercise discernment, whose poisonousness inspired you to ascend to greater heights, and whose assaults only serve to make your light more obvious to those who are significant. The yelling match that took place over you was not actually about protecting your honor in any way. It was about the universe communicating to you that the time in which you have been misunderstood has come to an end. When you enter a timeline, your value is immediately recognized, your contributions are naturally valued, and your presence is welcomed and celebrated without you having to prove anything to anyone. This is the timeline you are traveling into. It is the revelations that this entire situation makes about the power that you have been cultivating via your spiritual development that are the most deep feature of this situation. The preoccupation that your adversary had with destroying you was, in fact, an unintentional sort of adoration on their part. It was necessary for them to think about you in order for them to tell every falsehood about you. Ye are building a family of light, the first 1,000 souls. Be part of it. Subscribe to Chosen Archangel, press like, and leave your word in the comments. You were given a place in their mind's tree with each and every strategy that they devised. Every time they made an effort to ruin your reputation, they were forced to examine your achievements in such a way that they might find something to criticize. During the course of their inquiry, your defense came upon something that is even more unsettling than the previous ones. Not only has your adversary been casually monitoring your life by browsing on social media, but they have also used other methods. Digital stalking is a sort of internet gang-stalking that goes well beyond a healthy interest about an ex-partner or former friend. They have been engaged in what can only be characterized as digital stalking. They are utilizing a variety of devices and internet connections to access your profiles without leaving any digital footprints, and they have even enlisted the assistance of others to take screenshots and report back on your activities. They have been creating phony accounts in order to circumvent any privacy restrictions that you may have implemented. They have been examining your posting patterns, examining your content for hidden meanings, and constructing extensive timelines of your activities, as if they were some kind of obsessed detective working on a case that only exists in their minds. Monitoring at this level demands a significant expenditure of both time and mental energy on the part of the individual. They were deprived of the energy that they could have used toward constructing their own lives, achieving their own goals, or healing their own traumas. Instead, they made the decision to become a professional watcher of your lives, living vicariously via your experiences while simultaneously harboring resentment for every instance of happiness or success that they watched. The relational dynamic that your critic has been unable to escape has been caught in mirrors. The field of developmental psychology is being discussed. The condition of having parasitic twins in the womb, in which one twin takes in nutrition and energy from the other twin, causing the first twin to grow larger and stronger while the second twin continues to be stunted and incompletely developed. Even after you have separated, your adversary has been making efforts to keep this dynamic going. They have been trying to continue to take energy and attention away from your life in order to satisfy their own sense of importance and relevance. On the other hand, the repercussions were immediate and devastating for them when you severed the energetic cords and withdrew yourself from the equation of parasitism. Without your vitality to draw on, without your achievements to compare and contrast with their own, and without your tranquility to disrupt their disorder, they discovered that they were confronted with the truth of their own emptiness. The presence of children, innocent young minds, who have been forced to watch this toxic preoccupation has further complicated the incompatible connection that they have been striving to maintain. This has the effect of making the situation even more difficult. Without their knowledge, these youngsters have become casualties in a conflict that should never have engaged them in the first place. These little children have learned to identify your name with yelling, tension, and adult behavior that is incomprehensible to their innocent souls, and your defender has watched in horror as they begin to understand this association. The adults in their life have lost themselves in bitter resentments that have nothing to do with the process of developing a loving and stable family environment. They have witnessed toddlers running and hiding when the obsessive conversations began, clutching stuffed animals for comfort. It is one of the most potent motivators for your defender to eventually speak up, and it is the psychological damage that is being inflicted on these young minds. Through their silence, they came to the realization that they were not only allowing harmful behavior toward you. It was deliberately contributing in the traumatization of children who should have been raised in homes that were more focused on love, growth, and the construction of a positive future rather than dreams of vengeance and grievances from the past. There is something particularly terrible about watching children try to make sense of why the adults on whom they rely are more emotionally invested in someone who isn't even present than they are in the individuals, who are right in front of them seeking for attention, love, and direction. This is something that children find particularly difficult to comprehend. Therefore, this is where there are facets of this situation that are becoming more prophetic. There have been downloads, intuitive hits, and spiritual direction that have been coming to you regarding the opportunities that are coming your way. You have been being prepared by the universe for a degree of plenty and recognition that demands a great deal of intelligence in order to navigate in the appropriate manner. It is not a question of whether or not you are deserving of this achievement that is being sent to you through your spiritual channels. In light of your continuous character and genuine development, the answer to that question has already been provided. The advice is about how to deal with the responsibilities that come along with more influence and riches without losing yourself in the course of doing so. A very specific warning is issued regarding the importance of avoiding falling into the trap of hedonistic pleasure, which has the potential to ruin even the most successful individuals when they suddenly find themselves in possession of more money and freedom than they have ever had before. Examples of celebrities and prominent personalities who let their newly acquired wealth get to their heads are being presented to you by the universe. These individuals began spending foolishly, partying excessively, and losing sight of the principles and behaviors that were responsible for their success in the first place. It has been recommended that you continue to practice the same spiritual exercises and to remain deeply committed to progress, maintaining the same connection to your higher purpose even if the circumstances around you undergo significant shifts. The important thing is to make sure that the abundance complements your capacity to fulfill your objective rather than diverting your attention away from it. If you want to be successful, you will need to be very selective about who you share specifics of your accomplishments with, according to the information that is coming through. It is not because you are arrogant or secretive, but rather because not everyone in your current network is capable of handling the news of your ascent without it triggering their own unhealed scars regarding money, recognition, and achievement. Even those you trust and who have been there for you along your path may surprise you with unexpected reactions when it becomes clear that you have achieved success. As you prepare yourself for the truth that some relationships may inevitably dissolve, the universe is preparing you for this reality. You will simply be working from various frequencies and focusing on different objectives. This is not because anyone is terrible or wrong, rather, it is because everything will be different. Additionally, your spiritual team is cautioning you about the potential for additional attention that comes with achieving higher levels of accomplishment. Negative attention that is not guaranteed to be positive. It is inevitable that there will be others who scrutinize your every action, searching for shortcomings, who examine your decisions in order to discover anything to condemn, and who concoct complicated theories regarding the reasons why you do not deserve what you have accomplished. Nevertheless, you are being prepared for this scrutiny in a manner that your critic was never prepared for their own version of this event, which was much more limited. Through the process of developing the spiritual armor, emotional resilience, and energy boundaries that are necessary to keep your serenity and focus regardless of opinions or attacks from the outside world, you are making progress. The timing of everything, including the breaking of the cord, the confrontation, the exposure of lies, and the flow of new opportunities, has been planned by forces that are beyond the comprehension of humans in order to create the ideal conditions for your next level of service and influence. In order to be able to handle the burden of increasing influence and resources, you needed to be entirely free from the energetic drain that toxic connections caused. In their own peculiar way, they have been one of your most devoted followers, monitoring your progress with greater attention than some of the people who can actually be considered your fans. They have been supplying you with free market research, revealing to you exactly which of your attributes create the greatest envy, and which of your accomplishments bring the most anguish to people who are functioning from a lesser level of consciousness. However, here's the cherry on top that completely changes everything. You are becoming more powerful as a result of their assaults, and you are not even aware of this fact. Our goal is clear: 1,000 voices united. Every subscriber, every like, every comment gets us closer. Stand with chosen Archangel today. As time went on, people were able to see through the lies that they told about you, which strengthened your credibility. Every false accusation that they made that was later shown to be false contributed to the enhancement of your reputation. Every effort that they made to cut you off from opportunities simply served to get you closer to opportunities that were more favorable. Your frequency has been so high that their negativity has not been able to reach you directly. You have been operating from that frequency. As a result, it could only return to its source with an enlarged form after bouncing off your energy field. Because of this, their life has been rapidly disintegrating, whilst yours has been gradually coming together. It is because of this that their relationships are falling apart, whereas yours are growing stronger. It is because of this that their opportunities are diminishing, while yours are increasing in number. You have outgrown the need to protect yourself against those who operate from envy and fear, and the conflict that just took place was truly the universe's way of telling you how fully you have outgrown the need to do so. Due to the fact that your character is now so well established, your energy is so constantly positive, and your outcomes are so clearly legitimate, the truth speaks for itself without you having to provide any additional information. Something that has been revealed to you as a result of the screaming fight over you will forever alter the way that you perceive yourself. You have reached a stage of spiritual development where the universe itself is participating in the fight against your challenges. You are no longer need to interact with harmful substances because higher forces are taking care of your protection and vindication on their own. It is not because you intended for people to suffer because the world around them is engulfed in flames. Rather, it is because lies cannot exist in the midst of the truth. The reason that their relationships are falling apart is not because you have cursed them. Rather, it is because lying generates instability, which eventually yields to its own weight and collapses. The reason that their possibilities are vanishing is not because you have barred them. Rather, it is because individuals who possess insight are able to recognize the distinction between someone who builds and someone who destroys. The individual who stood up for you and defended your honor during that dramatic altercation provided you with more than just vindication. The fact that your genuine self may find supporters even in the most unexpected places was demonstrated to you by them. They demonstrated to you that when you conduct yourself with integrity, when you concentrate on improving yourself rather than engaging in gossip, and when you choose evolution over explanation, the universe will bring forth champions on your behalf. On the other hand, this is the most profound revelation of all. Despite appearances, the conflict that just took place was not really relevant to you at all. The story was about two individuals who were ultimately compelled to face the reality about their own relationship, the decisions they had made, and their own personalities. Simply put, you were the impetus that pushed their problems to the forefront of your attention. It was only the mirror that reflected back their fears, and your achievement was just the mirror. Your tranquility served as a stark contrast that brought out the turbulence in their lives. You have developed into such a potent force for truth that the very fact that you exist reveals what is genuine and what is fabricated in the individuals who are in your immediate vicinity. Having this trait is a sign that one is truly selected. Someone whose genuine light is so brilliant that it illuminates everything in its vicinity, compelling people to either rise to reach that frequency or disclose their inability to do so, depending on the circumstances. The shouting match that took place over you was, in reality, a celebration disguised as a celebration. It was a cosmic acknowledgement that you have successfully completed a significant progression in your spiritual advancement. You have successfully completed the School of Hard Knocks, obtained your degree in discernment, and proved that you are prepared to move on to the more advanced curriculum of conscious creation and purposeful living. The time has come for you to engage in self-defense maneuvers. It is over. Your time devoted to demonstrating your value has come to an end. Now is the time to stop pondering whether or not you are deserving of better. Moving forward, you are entering a period of time in which your value is readily apparent, your mission is unmistakable, and your success is unavoidable. An individual who is courageous enough to speak the truth about what they saw has been the conduit through which the cosmos has communicated with us. Without a doubt, the message is clear. Your safety is guaranteed. You are highly respected. And you are meant for greatness, which cannot be prevented by any amount of envy, falsehoods, or manipulation under any circumstances. Greetings, chosen one, and welcome to your new reality. It is now time to call it. The reality has been revealed. At this moment, you are the victor. It is not because you fought, but rather because you have progressed beyond the necessary necessity to fight. It has always been your genuine self that has been your most powerful weapon. Chosen one, remember this, heaven never sends a word without purpose. If this message has stirred your spirit, let it shine brighter. Press like so the light spreads to others walking in darkness. Subscribe to Chosen Archangel so you never miss the next divine revelation. And share your thoughts in the comments below. Your testimony may be the very spark that awakens another soul. Until we meet again, stay covered by the wings of heaven, and walk boldly in your calling.